Today I'm going to demonstrate to you this process called zero payment process within Oracle Fusion. Now let's understand what exactly this process is all about. In AR, a credit memos are often issued to adjust or reduce the receivables balance due from customers. Oracle Fusion provides a feature to apply a credit memo or a debit memo to one or more invoices to reduce the outstanding amount on those invoices. Now, this is because AR involves managing customer accounts, adjustments to handle customer payments, discount, etc. In AP, a credit memo serves a similar purpose, but it is treated completely differently. It represents the reduction of the supplier liability and it is handled as part of the payment process. So, in other words, you are creating a document called AP invoice. At the same time, you're creating AP invoice, AP credit memos, but you're not applying AP credit memos to the invoice. Instead, what happens is when you're making the payments, both are treated as separate documents and they are applied to the supplier liability basically. So let's take two scenarios. I'm going to take two scenarios in this particular case. Invoice amount greater than credit amount. So what will happen is when you're creating an invoice of 200 PLN and credit memo of for 125 PLN. Now when you're processing the payment, profile, there is a checkbox called apply credits up to zero payment amount payment. So if you tick that box, and so if you tick that box and process the payment, now in this scenario, it won't have any impact because your credit memo is lesser than the invoice amount. But in second scenario, where the credit amount is greater than invoice amount, so take an example, an invoice for 200 PLN and credit memo for 225 PLN. Now, if you tick that box, zero payment in the payment file will be created. So the zero payment will be created in the payment file, and the credit memo is going to be reduced to minus 25 PLN. Now, if you don't tick this box, then invoice or CM cash memo is not going to be selected. Okay, so let's deep dive into the demonstration to understand how exactly that's going to be done within Oracle Fusion. We will now log into Oracle Fusion and create some invoices. Enter your business unit in which you want to create this invoice. I'm going to select ABC Consultings. The site will be populated automatically. $200 standard invoice. I'm going to put the invoice group so that when we are running the payment process profile, we can filter this out. So I'm just going to put it as 0-2. And select the distribution code. Okay, so I've just created one invoice. I'll create credit memo as well, actually, as per our scenario one. I forgot to validate basically that invoice, so we'll just go back to that invoice and revalidate. And I'm going to select you have to enter as minus 125 because we are entering the credit memo. Select the code combinations. Okay, so for this I need to select document category. It's not defaulting. Validate. So the credit memo has been created, and we will go through force approval as well. Okay, so it has, if you check this invoice, it has been approved as well, or if we haven't accounted. So this is the invoice which I've created. Let me validate this invoice. Okay, and I'll go for the force approval. Okay, so both invoice has been created as per the scenario one. We have created invoice for £200, 200 PLN, sorry, zloty, and credit memo was for 125, and I'm expecting the credit memo should be reduced to invoice should be reduced to 75. Let's create the payment process profile. So I need to relog in. Selecting payment process 02 2025 01. We'll select invoice group 02. Select the disbursement account associated to that disbursement account. It will ask you to select the payment document and the payment process profile. I'm going to select, this has no impact anyway. So I'm selecting apply credits up to zero amount payment. So this won't have any impact because our credit amount is well beyond below the limit basically. So in sense, the credit amount is lesser than the invoice amount, so it won't have any impact. But it will have an impact when we go for scenario 2, which I'll demonstrate to you in a short while. Okay, so if you see, so it has selected the invoice and it has selected the credit memo as well. So the payment amount should be 75. So it's not reducing the invoice amount, but it picks up the invoice, it picks up the credit memo, and when it generates a payment amount, or which is going to be for 75, and then it will update the status of the payment to paid. So we'll check the status of the invoice and the credit memo both. Right, so it has come to the second stage where it is asking you to resume the payment process. It will ask you to select the bank account. If you want to change the remittance bank account, you can change at this point, right? So it's all good to go. We'll just resume the payment process. Right, the format is ready for transmission, and we'll check the format of the file as well. Actually, if you see the format of the file, it should say 75 pounds with PLN basically, so we are sending only 75 to the supplier, and we are adjusting the invoice and the credit memo both. Okay, I'm saying done, and this has been completed, so it should move into the completed state. Yep, so this is the one actually payment recorded, and we'll go back to the invoice which we have created. So this was the invoice which we created, and there was a credit memo as well. So INV 90 2025, and it says like fully paid. CM, it says fully paid. Okay, so this is the completion of scenario 1. Let's move on to scenario 2, in which the credit amount is going to be more than the invoice amount. And to save some time, actually what I've done is I've just created invoice and credit memo. So I've created an invoice for 200 PLN, which is Lottie. I've validated and approved. So this is my INV 100/2025 is my invoice, and I've put invoice group as 03, and I've created credit memo for -225. So in this particular case, my credit memo is greater than the invoice amount, which fits my scenario 2 requirement. Okay, so now let's go to the payment process. We'll create one payment process profile, which is for 03. I'm not changing anything except for the invoice group. Let me select the disbursement account. This checkbox is going to be very important in this scenario. If you say apply credits up to zero amount payment, then both invoice and credit memos are going to be picked up. Otherwise it's not going to be selected, because your credit amount is always going to be going in minus basically, right, when you keep applying the invoices. Right, so if you say like it has selected two installments, so one is -225, which is credit memo, and one is invoice, which is going to be 200. My payment amount is going to be 0 because I don't have to pay anything to the supplier. Yeah, but my unpaid amount is still going to be -25, so my credit memo is going to be adjusted to -25. So I'm just going to press the submit button to proceed further. Resume the payment process. I'm not changing the remittance bank account. So it's creating right now and formatting the file, and we'll quickly check the formatted file as well. Actually, it should be zero payment file. Okay, so this has been completed. And you can see the UCM folder where the files are going to be generated. So it's transmitted as well actually, and we'll quickly check UCM folder as well. If you see the payment file, the payment is 0 basically, but it will show you like which has been picked up and which has not been picked up. So it has picked up the invoice, and it has picked up the, say, minus credit memo, it has picked up credit memo, and it has picked up the invoice as well actually. And let's check the invoice status. Partially paid. If you see, like, this has been fully paid, but this has been partially paid. Okay, so this has been paid out. Unpaid amount left is minus 25. So next time actually when you're running with another invoice, it will try and adjust basically. Okay, and as I said, we need to check the UCM folder. So let's come to UCM folder. I selected a different folder. Okay, so this is the payment file which was generated. Okay, now before concluding this demonstration, I'll quickly show you the setup actually which needs to be carried out actually on the bank. One thing, account use, like, okay, this bank account should be used for the payables. That's another thing. And the second point you need to consider is allow zero payments. Otherwise, it won't generate the payment file if you don't tick this box. Okay. So we have covered both scenarios, scenario 1 and scenario 2. Hope you liked my session, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.